Our next speaker is Director Brown at the Lake Region State College, Director of the Health IT Program.
Okay, good morning. I hope everyone can hear me all right. Thank you so much for allowing me to do a presentation this morning regarding our Health Information Technology program at Lake Region State College. We just got started last September offering classes. We will have our first group of students graduating March 31st, so we're very excited about that. Today, I'll be talking to you a little bit about the need for health information technology training across North Dakota and across the United States. The workforce role certificates that we're offering at Lake Region State College, the coursework for each role, the cost of the certificates, the term dates that we are offering, and the registration process for our program. Next slide, please. The HITECH Act is the Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health Act of 2009. It provides incentives to advance meaningful use of health information technology and the idea to achieve electronic health record utilization by 2015. Critical to the success of the HITECH Act is a skilled workforce that can facilitate the implementation and support of electronic healthcare system. Estimates based on data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Department of Education indicates a potential shortfall of 60,000 to 80,000 qualified health IT workers in the United States over the next 5 years that would be needed to meet the electronic health record utilization in hospitals and facilities across the United States. And remember to keep in mind that the goal for EHR implementation is 2015. And so that is a large group of individuals that need to be properly trained with electronic health records by 2015. Next slide, please. A regional approach to facilitate the adoption of electronic health record as part of the HITECH Act. Grants were made available to community college consortia across the United States. And as you can see on the PowerPoint slide, there are 5 different colored regions. Lake Region State College is in the upper northwest region, the purple area. We have 10 states in our region and 8 colleges that we are working with in Region A. And the 5 regions across the United States were based on population. That's how they divided up the different regions. Next slide, please. The 4 workforce roles we're offering at Lake Region State College are technical software support, health IT trainers, clinician practitioner consultants, and workflow redesign specialists. And I'd really like to take an opportunity to thank my advisory board, who was very pertinent on helping us develop these workforce roles and decide which roles that we were going to offer. Lynette Dixon is the program director for the Center for Rural Health at UND, and Sheldon Wolf is the North Dakota Health Information Technology Director out of Bismarck. Becky Hansen is the Chief Financial Officer from Southwest Healthcare Services in Bowman. Lori Syme is the Clinical Coordinator at First Care Health Center in Park River. Alan Okerson is the Chief Information Officer at Trinity Health in Minot. Nancy London is the Regional Administrator for North Dakota Vocational Rehab, located here in Devils Lake. We also have Alex Todorovich. He is the Manager of Clinical Applications and Information Services at All True Health in Grand Forks. And Sue Rail is Manager at Ide Bailey out of Fargo. So these individuals are very instrumental in helping us develop the workforce roles that we offer and the coursework that went into those workforce roles. So I just want to take an opportunity to thank them for all of their help and support. Next slide, please. The first workforce role that I'll be talking about this morning is technical software support. Workers in this role interact with end users to diagnose IT problems and implement solutions. They track IT problems and evaluate effectiveness of problem resolution, and they interact with the vendors as needed. Workers in this role usually have a health information technology background or a health information management background. And next slide, please. The next slide just kind of lays out the coursework for this workforce role. As you can see, the students are required to take 3 consecutive 8-week terms. So for technical software support, the first 8-week term, they would take an introductory course. Most likely they take Introduction to Healthcare Terminology and Public Health in the United States. And then they'd also take a Working with Health IT Systems, which is a lab component. And all of the lab components, we actually acquired Vista Software. The Office of the National Coordinator for Health Information Technology was able to acquire Vista Software from the VA that they turned into an educational software that we are able to use for our students to actually have hands-on EMR practice during the program. So it's been very beneficial for our students, especially those students that have never worked with an EHR before. This has been very beneficial for them. The second 8-week term, they would be taking Professionalism and Customer Service in the Health Environment, Working in Teams, and then Installation and Maintenance of Health IT Systems, which is another lab course. And then the third 8-week term, they take Configuring EHRs, another lab course, Special Topics course on Vendor-Specific Systems, and Networking and Health Information Exchange. Next slide, please. The next workforce role we're offering, the Health Information Technology Trainer role. Workers in this role should be able to use a range of health IT applications, preferably at an expert level. We also are looking for individuals who can communicate both health and IT concepts as appropriate, and possibly individuals who have had experience as trainers or in the classroom setting. It isn't required, but it's a benefit if you've had training or teaching experience in the past. And the background of workers in this role would obviously be a healthcare professional or a health information management specialist. Next slide, please. Coursework for the Health IT Trainer. I won't go through and read every single class that's available for the Health IT Trainer. However, it is broken down into 8-week terms again. First 8-week term, students would take 2 classes. Second 8-week term, students would take 2 classes. And the third 8-week term, students are required to take 3 classes. Next slide, please. The next workforce role, Clinician, Practitioner, Consultant. Workers in this role document the workflow and information management models of the practice. They conduct user requirements analysis to facilitate the workflow design. And they design processes and information flows for the practice that accommodate quality improvement and reporting. And workers in the Clinician, Practitioner, Consultant role, the ONC, the Office of the National Coordinator for Health IT, did require that individuals pursuing this workforce role do hold a professional clinical license. So either a licensed dietitian or a registered nurse or a licensed practical nurse, they have to hold some sort of license to pursue the Clinician, Practitioner, Consultant role. So just keep that in mind if you're looking through the different workforce roles, that this role does need to have someone holding a professional license. Next slide, please. Again, the coursework for the Clinician, Practitioner, Consultant. Each course, if you've noticed, each certificate that we offer, each individual needs to take that Working with Health IT Systems, that lab class, and they each need to take an introductory class, either Introduction to Information and Computer Science or Introduction to Healthcare Terminology and Public Health. And each role also needs to take Professionalism and Customer Service in the Health Environment, Working in Teams. So those 3 classes are the same across all 4 certificates that we are offering. Next slide, please. And the last workforce role we're offering is the Workflow Redesign Specialist role. And this role is actually very similar to the Clinician, Practitioner, Consultant. However, workers in this role do not need to hold a professional license. So, as the practice implements the EHR, workers in this role would work directly with practice personnel to implement the revised workflow and information management model. And actually, the coursework, if you go to the next slide, please, the coursework is very similar between the Clinician, Practitioner, Consultant and the Workflow Redesign Specialist. There's only 1 or 2 classes that differ between the 2 workforce roles. Next slide, please. The next slide is the course structure. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how the class is actually set up. Our program is offered completely online, and so the schedule is very flexible. Students are able to log in at their convenience and work on their homework when it is most convenient for them. Classes open up the weekend before, and they're open the weekend after the work week. And so a lot of our students are currently employed full time, and so this is very convenient for them to be able to have time on the weekends to work on these courses. The course consists of lectures, which are voiced over PowerPoints, discussion questions. The instructor will list 3 or 4 discussion questions for students to choose from. They may choose one question and post a response to that question, and then they also need to respond to one other student in their classroom, one of their other classmates, respond to one of their questions as well. Some courses have case studies, which is basically like a 1 or 2 page paper that is required, and other courses have lab activities. It would be the lab courses, the working with health IT systems, installation maintenance, and configuring EHRs. Those courses would have lab activities that students were required to complete. Each week there are weekly reviews that students need to complete, which is just a series of true and false and multiple choice questions taken from the lectures from that week and the discussion questions from that week. At week 5, there is a midterm in every class, and then at week 8, which is the last week of the class, there is a final test. And the midterm and the final are all basically comprised of questions from the weekly reviews. So there really are no big surprises. It's things that the students have seen before. That's what's comprised of the midterm and the final. And just visiting with students, on average, I have found that students are devoting 3 to 6 hours per week on the coursework. And keep in mind, they're taking 2 classes each week. So for the 2 classes, it's between 3 and 6 hours per week total that they are devoting to coursework for this program. And like I said, that's on average. I know some students are putting in 8 to 10 hours a week. I don't think students are putting in any less than 2 to 3 hours a week. So that's the average for the students that are enrolled right now. Next slide, please.